Mouth-watering, sensational, what a beautiful encounter we've had there. Two gone, two on the way, ladies and gentlemen. Group E has proven to be one of the best as far as the Total Energies 2021 AFCON is concerned. Welcome to joining us live in today's edition of the program. Focus on the AFCON. My name is Bishop Rene, Issa for presentation. And yes, we're welcoming back in the studios of this fine reference point for sports in Cameroon, Africa, and the world over. Excellent brains, of course, the best in the country when it comes to sports analysis. But on today's edition of the program, it's all about the AFCON. First things first, he is a coach. He is one of the best sports consultants in the country. Enow Ako. Good evening to you, sir, and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Bishop. Good evening to you. I'm sure the people of Bouaké, Yamoussoukro, Abidjan, they should be celebrating now as a result of the victory that Ivory Coast just picked against Algeria. Good evening to all televiewers of My Media Prime.
Yes, we thank you very much for accepting to host us in your different zones of comfort via the medium of your television sets. We also have a very fine sports brain in the building with us. Very excellent, of course, resourceful with lots of relishingness. He is Tah Mai Javis. He joins us body and soul, sir. A fine good evening to you, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be with us in today's edition of the program Focus on AFCON.
Good evening, Bishop. Good evening to Ivorian artists, because I know in every debacle like this, especially when it's a return leg, because it's more of a return leg as of what happened within the last African Cup of Nations in 2019 between Algeria and Cote d'Ivoire, it's more of a return leg. And so we are expecting a song from the artists, as they always do, like they did when Cameroon did not qualify for the FIFA World Cup when Tite Akati September, Issa Abidjan. They have a way of celebrating football. So I want to say a special good evening to them, because they have been watching this football for quite some time.
I told you, Tah Mai Javis, with relishing resourcefulness on the program this evening. Dream FM's sports journalist Ngome Michael joins us body and soul in the program as well. Sir, good evening and thank you so much. You took on the daunting task to travel from the southwest to the littoral to be with us. You're welcome.
Well, good evening, Bishop, and good evening to all our viewers out there, and welcome to an AFCON edition full of upsets. We are waiting for more as we progress deep into this competition.
At Japuma, it looked like one of the games to produce one of the most talking points. Guess what? The talking points rather came from Limbe, where we had a total of 9 yellow cards and 1 red card. But first, let's focus on where the goals came from. We're talking about Japuma. The Elephants outclassed the Foxes all the way from Algeria in a 3-goal encounter, or better said, a 4 goals encounter with 3 to the advantage of the Elephants. Tah Mai told you already, it appeared to have been a return leg for the Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire, and certainly out there we should be expecting a song. First, Coach Enow Ako, such an encounter coming into this one, many persons saw Algeria as favorites, but guess what? The tables have not only turned, they look really different. Your reactions on this particular encounter?
Watching encounter, because the Ivorian guys, they definitely were above expectation to them. When you look at the way somebody like Nicolas Pepe played, KC in the midfield, I was just so overwhelmed with their performance today. They actually dominated every segment of the game. Reasons why the Algerians were nowhere to be found. You see, when each time we make analysis, we do comparative analysis. When you look at the way the Ivorians did play today, KC at the level of the midfield moved the ball a lot. Reasons why people like Nicolas Pepe, they were so active in the flanks. So. And that's what we always have been decrying with the Lions. Because this far, the Lions, we have been playing games along the flanks, but in the midfield, we are definitely lacking. But the Ivorians today have seen a much complete team relative to other games. But when you look at the games the Ivorians have been playing, when you watch even the game against Sierra Leone, where they pulled a 2-0 tie, they actually scored 2 goals. Today they have scored 3 goals. It tells you that it's a team that actually is so offensive. And when you look at those who have been scoring, and the way the goals have been coming, you see assists coming in from the midfielders, which is something as at now, as far as the Lions are concerned, we are still lagging behind. It's a sweet victory for the Ivorians today. I think that everywhere in Bouaké, Yamoussoukro, sports is a tool that should definitely bring people together. Ivory Coast has been suffering a lot. I think that this is an opportunity where people can embrace themselves, especially in Bouaké. And I think, Bishop, that the Ivory Coast that we've watched today is in the Ivory Coast of the game against Sierra Leone. Consequently, every team should take them serious.
Well, Coach, bringing some very startling revelations as far as that encounter is concerned. It looked like an encounter that would provide lots of fireworks out there at the Japuma Sports Complex. Tah Mai Javis, you watched this particular game and took every segment of the game with close, attention. It looked like a Nigerian team that was ready to come on board, of course, and clinch a victory, but something seemingly was not working out for them. What went wrong for the Algerian side today?
You know, the concept of superiority have a great role to play, and when you are coming for a match, you think that you really have an advantage over the other. And so what went wrong to me is the fact that they were too much depending on Real Mahrez. There was that too much dependency, and so also the formation of the coach wasn't the best for me, because when you are coming in a team where you think like Ivory Coast is a strong team, you need to look at the different formation. They have a lot of their defenders are swift, their attackers are swift. Ivorians attackers are swift as compared to the last match that they had. This time around, you saw how they make a good use of the left and the right flank, and you saw how at the center, they dominated possession and also gave some few accurate passes. The only issue I discovered also with the Ivorians on the other side was that there were some opportunities that they missed and some little defensive collaboration. When you are in a match that you need is to secure a win, you must ensure that your defense, you don't give a lot of passes within the defense, you clear your zone, and that was lacking. Another issue too we had with Real Mahrez is that he did not have that person that he could play the ball with. You know, when you are a striker like that, you need to have about 2 players that you could play the ball with. All eyes were focused on him. You do not have that. But you should know that the Ivorians were coming for a revenge match. It's difficult to beat someone blue-black, and remember that they were eliminated at the group stage in 2019, and Algeria went and took the cup, which means that the Ivorians had won Algeria in 2019. Probably they may have
been the title
defenders. The title defenders. But you know, what gave the Ivorians the edge is that these guys were defeated 1-0 by a little-known team. So, of course, we are coming to crush them. We've watched their matches, and they were a bit frustrated during the match. You saw how the yellow card was given to one of the players who fouled the captain of Ivory Coast, so not just cause, it was out of frustration. The Algerians came with one thing in their mind, and that was, we are the king, and we are coming to win. But the Ivorians came with one thing in their mind, is that we are coming to correct the errors of 2019.
Ngome Michael, it looked like a game of mentality there. It looked like a game of morality. At the start of the game, we saw Serge Aurier who was pumped up. We saw 2 yellow cards coming in from different directions. And Serge, of course, coming to shout at the referee. The match official there earned himself a yellow card. But somewhere in the match, we saw, a Cote d'Ivoire team that seemingly found their composure and was ready to take on this encounter and go toe-to-toe. But at the end of the day, they came out like the elephants, of course, with an elephant victory. Don't you think maybe the morality and also probably the champions syndrome followed the Algerian side today? Well,
Coach Enow and Tah Mai Javis have spoken a lot on the Ivorian side, which we've seen. First thing first, they needed just a draw today, and they got it twice. So I will speak more on the Algerian side. First of all, I would say from a personal perspective, I saw this coming, because when you look at it, these are 2 giants that have fallen in the space of 2 to 3 days, Ghana and Algeria. When you look at it, Ghana, their second game, they had the victory up to the dying moments of the game, and Alevina drew in the equalizer. and that's where the frustrations came in. We saw the little melee that played at the end of the game. It was a similar thing. Algeria knew perhaps a draw against Equatorial Guinea would have given them a second point, and then they will come on against Ivory Coast and make something out of it. But when you look at it, the moment the goal came against Equatorial Guinea scored, everything shattered. Just like the Ghanaian game, you look at it, it was different. And unlike Ghana, who tend to be best 10-man against Comoros, Algeria came in with something entirely different, especially when the Ivorian side came back and had to regroup after the little unfortunate incident of 2 yellow cards. They regrouped, and Algeria was nowhere to be found. It should equally be noted that when you see an AFCON that has always been played south of the Sahara has caused a lot of troubles to these Maghrebian countries. Algeria is most especially, and there's equally a syndrome many will point to. In 1990, I think they won their first ever trophy, and the following year in '92, they got eliminated in the second at the group stages of the following competition. And last year in Egypt, they got it, and coming into Cameroon south of the Sahara again. And we can even trace back in Equatorial Guinea 2015, a similar record followed them. So it has been a chain of events, particularly during this their group, where they were picked at not only group favorite but group the competition's favorite. Things went wrong, and combined with a series of incidents, you see them flopping, and it's, to me, I would say it is not good that Algeria are out, but I think the upset, every good football fan is enjoying it.
Well, of course, we shall be taking you to Limbe, where we had a total of 10 bookings in this particular encounter with, of course, one red card there. But before we take you to Limbe, Tah Mai, we're coming back to you again, this Cote d'Ivoire and Algeria match. Moving up in this, forward into this competition, what would such a victory mean for Cote d'Ivoire?
It's a booster. It's like a, I don't want to say catalyst, because a catalyst is something that activates a reaction and ends up not being used in the reaction. But this one is a stronger solution. They have made themselves to be like the osmosis. Because when you look at how much it takes to win a match of this caliber, the defending champions, I must tell you that Ivorians, they have a team that can go right up to the final. The only challenge they will have is their defense compartment, which is not actually stable for them, because they have a great work to play within their defense, where you see the center defender is not effectively communicating within the colleagues. And at this point, it gives a good opportunity for a team with swift attackers to easily play, because if you look at what happened when Cameroon played Egypt, that should be 2008, when we had Ringobert Songbanak and Zidane issue. That was an issue where you see there was not effective communication within the goalkeeper and the main defender. So that problem will come in when you have a swift attacker like Zidane, who comes in and get the shot on target. So to me, the Ivorians need to go back to their drawing board and see how they can beef up their compartment. But one thing that I remarked about the Algerian side is the fact that they are they are more like giving too much complaint.
Are we not looking at a team that is suffering from fatigue, given they've been involved in the Arab Games and coming into this tournament
not fatigue.
with 35 match unbeaten?
It's not fatigue. Being 35 match unbeaten doesn't mean that you should. It's football. You are a journalist, right? Every day you are on air. You get to not to be fatigued. One thing they have is that they think because they were one of the teams that were advocating that this AFCON should not come to Cameroon. If you look at all those northern African countries that you see, one of the things I remark is that they gave a lot of complaint. And when they were defeated their first match, they said, the sun was too much. The lighting system was not the best, and they keep giving complaints. This time I don't know what complaint they are going to give. Maybe they are going to say that the supporters of Cameroon did not come to clap for them as they should have done. But one thing is certain, I always say this: football is like amoeba. There is no form and there is no shape. It is at the green turf that you know who is who. When the referee, who is like a Roman Catholic priest, say, go in peace, the match is ended, celebrate with your fans, that is when you understand that it is all over for you. But at this time, it's not over for the Algerians. They still have hope. The next AFCON is coming. They should go back to the drawing board and prepare again.
What a description and definition of football by Tah Mai there. You are just tuning in for sure. You're on to Focus on Africa on your #1 sports channel in Cameroon, Africa, and the world over. We're talking of My Media Prime Television. And guess what? You're on to Focus on the AFCON. And now it's time for us to navigate to the seaside resort city of Limbe, ladies and gentlemen, where we had another mouth-watering encounter with lots of talking points. And yes, it was certainly a starter, but we're coming to that after this brief transitional imperative. A short break for us. When we come back, all focus takes us to Limbe. Stay with us.
Football is in our DNA.
Ndamana
Each
peace.
game with a cold, fresh Kaji beer. Kaji beer, the official beer of the AFCON Total Energies Cameroon 2021. Drink responsibly. 21+.
Le football est un sport qui se joue avec un ballon d'une circonférence de 70 cm. Des chaussures à crampons, deux équipes de 11 joueurs, sur un terrain recouvert de gazon. Bref, le foot, c'est un sport qui se joue avec un ballon.
Il n'y a pas qu'un football. Il n'y a pas qu'une façon de s'en rapprocher. Orange.
With Orange Cameroon, proud sponsor of the Indomitable Lions.
Orange.
Yes, you're welcome back from that brief transitional imperative. We now in Limbe, ladies and gentlemen, where an Iban Salvador assist in the 38th minute of the game out there in Limbe earned a fine victory for Equatorial Guinea as Pablo Ganeta did a beautiful conversion there, scoring and earning a 1-0 defeat. But then we are taking close interest on the talking points with lots of bookings for this particular encounter. And yes, a penalty, 2 penalties, one cancelled out there by the VAR, and of course one giving to Sierra Leone, but they could hardly even convert. It appears to have been a match that is more than just mouth-watering. All right, Mr. Enow Ako, you watched that one as well, and you took particular notes on all the bookings. First, let's look at your appreciation of that particular encounter. Many are saying that this happens to have been one of the best AFCONs organized in nearly 20 years. Would you say such an argument? Would you endorse such an argument?
Well, when we say it's one of the best, it's appropriate.
Appropriate.
Yes.
But not the best.
It's appropriate in the sense that we have just, the AFCON is just getting to steam.
Mm-hmm.
We are still talking about the pools. We'll soon be getting to the knockout phases, so we still need to assess. But when we talk about it being the best, we're looking at the infrastructures, the turnout, the fanfare, logistics, refereeing, as well as the other aspects of the game. So I think that if we say it's the best, if we say it's one of the best, I'm expecting that it should be the best at the end of the tournament.
At the end of the tournament.
At the end of the tournament.
Not at this point.
Not at this point, because at this point we still have some little issues that we should be very objective. As Cameroonians, we should be very objective. We want to see our nation. We want to see a better image for this nation. I've seen that today the Japoma turf, green turf, has been worked upon. That's what we definitely clamored for, because we should be very objective when things don't go right. And I think that at the end of the tournament, I still want to see, because you know there were issues of whether Japoma Stadium was going to be maintained or not. But when based on the game we've just watched now, I think that a lot of work has been done on that stadium. Going back to Limbe, I think that Equatorial Guinea picking up the 3 points for the day is something which we do appreciate. Being a nation in Central Africa, it means at the end of the day we already have Gabon, Cameroon, Guinea, Equatorial Guinea being qualified for the next phase of the tournament.
Nigeria as well.
Nigeria is in, I think it's in the others, in ECOWAS, but in Central Africa we already have those 3 guys, those 3 nations. I think it's something which I really do appreciate. But when we look at the game, when we look at Equatorial Guinea, they are gradually picking up steam to be one of the major contenders in every African Nations Cup. Some few years ago, when Morocco turned down the opportunity to host the AFCON, they definitely gave CAF a reason to smile, because Morocco did say that with the advent of Ebola, they couldn't host the tournament. But Equatorial Guinea stood up and took the challenge, and they hosted, and it was a success. Reasons why I got to appreciate them a lot based on their contribution that they have been doing in terms of sports and in football in particular. Because if at the time Equatorial Guinea did not, and Equatorial Guinea, there was this discussion, and before they accepted to host the event, because I'm sure there was no other African country that could stood up to that challenge, taking into consideration the timing for which Morocco definitely said they were not going to host the event. Reasons why I really did appreciate the victory of Equatorial Guinea today, and I wanted to see them go past the first round of the tournament. So,
Mr. Enow, we have the impression that the victory for Equatorial Guinea today puts the tournament in a very tight corner now. One is asking the question, potential opponents of Cameroon and
Comoros.
Yes,
Comoros for sure.
If we are, well, at this point in time, we are still having discussion on who could be the potential opponent for the Lions. But as a Cameroonian, and when you go in for any competition, you are not going there to handpick a team. You are going there to win the best. In order for you to win the trophy, be ready to win the best. So I'm not worried on who is going to be the next opponent. Whichever opponent is given for the Lions, they should definitely face the task. Because for you to be the champion, you should beat champions. So I think that I'm not worried about who our opponent is going to be. What I'm going to be worried about will be the strategy in place on that particular day, because we should not underrate any nation at this point in time. Those nations that have qualified for the quarterfinals, for the 8 finals, you should take them seriously, because it's based on their tactical and technical disposition that got them at that point. So we should, for the Lions, if we are expecting to play any game going forward, or to gain victories going forward, we should be looking at what went wrong and how those errors could be corrected. Once again, good luck to the Equatorial Guinean side, but if they have to face the Lions, it's going to be a derby for Central Africa, and for which those kind of local derbies have always been in favor of the Lions.
All right, I think it's always been for the Lions as far as favor is concerned. Tah Mai, let's look at the games today. We had 2 penalties missed there, one by Riyad Mahrez and the other one there in Limbe by Kwame Key. I mean, a score, one score out there in Limbe would have changed the atmosphere, would have, of course, inspired some, morale boost for the Sierra Leones, but it wasn't actually the case. I mean, what's your appreciation of the bookings, the penalty miss, as well as the entire match?
There is something about this AFCON that is taking a lot of people by storm. The issue of bookings, and I think the last match, the match in Limbe, it was a match also in Limbe with a lot of bookings. When you keep seeing the bookings, there's one thing which comes to mind of what use is VAR, because sometimes some of the bookings can quickly be checked, and you look some of the bookings, some don't even deserve a booking. I think there was a red card that was given during this AFCON, and I asked myself, of course, the VAR said it was not a foul, and the booking was maintained. As we always say, the ref is has the final say, like a Roman Catholic priest that says that when it's over, it's over. But the issue is the referee they need to work on the looking at.
There's need for communication.
There's need for communication between the VAR officials and the referee, and also there's that ability where the referee needs to temper justice with mercy. Too much booking spoil the game. too much booking. If you look at football in the late 90s, we had less booking and the games were competitive and they were less foul. And also the players this generation, especially during this AFCON, they have a problem with their mentality and psychology. And sometimes when when the goals are not coming, you get frustrated and you get anger. You are anger. Like look at the matches today between the last match that played yesterday, I think it was between Morocco and Burkina. It was Morocco and I think I've forgotten the name of the last match that played yesterday in the evening, where it was 2-2 tie between Gabon and Morocco. Now this is what happened. The Gabonese on their side, you are already leading 2-0 as a defender. Why do you take an attacker in a risky venture where you're already leading? So the challenge is that players need to be told that when you're in a kind of danger, when you're already winning, you need not commit foul. You asked about the impact of the penalty. If you look at the penalty, players within this generation have a great problem with penalties. They don't look at the goalkeeper. I think they only look at the ball where they are coming to kick, and sometimes it takes luck to score. Because normally, I'm not a professional footballer, but Mr. Ako, who is a professional, who used to be a professional footballer and now a certified coach, will understand that when you are coming to take a penalty, there's what we call you master your position of the ball from your leg, and you look at the goalkeeper, and you take the kick. But this time, you see, it don't happen that way. Look at the Abubakar kick, penalty. If you saw what happened, it was by luck that Abubakar scored because his head was buried on the ground, totally buried on the ground. Now, in terms of the morale, you asked Mr. Ako about the fair. People say one of the best AFCON. There are several parameters, like he said, that we judge bestness. Also fans turn out, and I'm disappointed with the African team, especially countries like Nigeria, Gabon, those are around, because it's, for God's sake, it's Africa Cup of Nations. It's not Cameroon Cup, meaning that you come with your supporters. Nigeria, you can come with your supporters. Cameroon have their supporters. But when you go when you go for an African Nations Cup, you should also make provisions for your supporters. When we see how we are struggling to get people to get to the field, I ask myself, Nigeria is just next door. They can ferry a lot of people to come and watch their matches.
We are looking at the location, and we cannot talk of Nigeria because they had supporters out there at
Look
the
at
stadium.
Mr. Ako has been going for African Nation Cups. Whether Cameroon qualify or not, he's a fan. He's a football lover. A football fan, goes for its team. I don't know, maybe Mr. Ako, if I'm wrong.
I think we should know that this is another era where we are dealing with a plague.
That brings us
but Cameroon did not give restriction for travels. No. Cameroon or East travel.
But people are scared. You and I were scared, and you know people out there who I think they have a skepticism surrounding why they should go to the stadium and all things like that. So it is part
Look
of
at the last AFCON. How many before the last AFCON? How many people actually went to the field?
And when we are talking about this, I think we should equally. I will be more positive on this, because when you look at it, the way Cameroon is handling this issue of turnouts, I think we should appreciate the measures put in place so far, because when you look at it, comparing it with Egypt 2019, I mean, Egypt, when it comes to fanfare, was a whole lot of mess. Exactly. Forgive me saying this, but we are gradually recovering with this. Bafusam drew the curtain of empty stadiums, but you get it, it is filling up. Limbe did the same, and we are expecting to see it after seeing it earlier this afternoon.
I'm not blaming the issue. We are handling it. Saying that what I'm saying is that these nations have to give the supporters base to Cameroon to see that if Cameroon is playing Nigeria or Gabon, we have those countries that are within our territorial boundaries that are playing the AFCON. It's easier and cheaper for them to send their supporters to the host nation. However, as you have explained, that is COVID-19. I believe that these days, if we cannot eat well, we say COVID-19. If we cannot win the match,
but it's really going to be coming into all those polemics as well, because talking about the turnout of fans in the stadium, I think, or the stadium, it would be a very difficult and a dicey conversation, given that many persons are expressing reservations as far as different communities involved and surrounding the galvanizing of fans and, of course, encouragement of fans to take on the different stadia. We, of course, are talking about these measures adopted by not only only the presidency, but of course validated by the Prime Ministry, coming at a time when we have one of the most, if not the most decisive terms as far as the academic calendar is concerned. We're looking at a term that is coming with the Youth Week, the Mothers, the Mother Tongue Day, the Vals Day, the Lent Week, the FENASCOs, and many other things that act as, discouragement, of course, and distractions to focus. However, we would not be coming to that Tah Mai. We're certainly not going to be looking at that. We're focusing on the match out there in Limbe, and it's certainly been a mouth-watering one, Coach Enow. What is the way forward now, because we are also looking at another game that still has to play, 2 games more, and we're looking at a certain Gambia taking on Tunisia. We shall definitely be coming to that as well, but let's wrap up with this particular Group E. So far so good in the tournament. What has been that eye-catching moment for you?
Yes, as far as the tournament is concerned, I think that we have seen we saw a beautiful goal that was scored by, I think, the Mauritanians.
Why not that against Cameroon? Why not that against?
We saw, we've also seen beautiful goals scored by Abubakar. Then, as at this point in time, I want to say that I've been so impressed with Simon Moses of Nigeria. This far, he's my man of the tournament. This is a guy that was not known before the tournament. Before this tournament, we were counting on people like Mahrez, Mohamed Salah. We're talking about Sadio Mane. But I can tell you that based on performance, that Simon Moses of Nigeria, this far, is a name that we should keep in our minds, because the guy is taking African football to a different level. Before, in Nigeria, the Nigerian squad, I was more concerned with people like Musa. We had somebody like Chukwueze,
the
Iheanacho, but I can tell you Ndidi as well. But when I'm looking at in terms of their performance, Samuel Moses is outstanding. It's outstanding. I'm sure he has already picked a man of the match in one of their games, and I see him picking many more. And if Nigeria happens to get to the finals or the semi-finals, then this gentleman will definitely be the man of the tournament. That said, AFCON is also a platform for people to showcase their tournament, because after AFCON, there is football. This is an opportunity for some of those players, and I think that I'll be hoping to see somebody like Simon Moses pick a beautiful contract in one of the best clubs in Europe after this event.
Well, we of course have 2 gone and 2 coming up in little less than 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, lovers of football. It is Focus on AFCON you're listening to, and of course we would take interest in the matches to play today. We have a certain Gambia taking on Tunisia. Tah Mai, it's a fine encounter, Gambia against Tunisia. What are your expectations moving into this particular encounter?
It's not that I hate most of the Northern African countries, but I go for Gambia.
You go for Gambia?
Yes. The reason I go for Gambia is because I want that most of these Northern African nations should go and prepare well for next AFCON.
AFCON will be in Ivory Coast.
It will be in Ivory Coast.
Yes, they should go and prepare well. For now, let them allow us, those from West and Central Africa, let us play that debut and see how we can unite ourselves. Because there's one thing that is, Gambia is gradually stabilizing from a political perspective. So a victory with Gambia will give them more of celebration out there on the street, and it will also avoid, some of the political tension will calm down. Look at when Cameroon won the AFCON in 2017, that day everywhere was flooded in the street. That was Moya that day. Moya, that everybody went out celebrating. Even the governor came out and went to Moya and said, but these are people celebrating. It's football. But we know what happened the next day. So but the Gambia want the Gambia to win. If the Gambia wins, it will heal the political divide they have currently, where there's a bit of political, and football gives
maybe it would calm the situation.
Pacify the situation. And people say, our player have scored, so I want the Gambia to win. Tunisia to have somehow political tension to both countries have similar issues.
Cameroon
They are similar.
well.
No, those two countries have similar issues.
They have similar
yes,
issues.
They have
and they are playing in a
issues.
country
it was
that
like
also
Cameroon,
has...
Ethiopia that has similar issues. But this time I go for the Gambia.
All
I
right.
want the Gambia to win.
I think that the Tunisians are going to wallop Gambia.
Very briefly, the Tunisians would wallop Gambia. Very briefly, we have a certain Mali taking on Mauritania there. We have Ngome Michael, sports journalist with Dream FM. What would be your predictions and expectations moving into this particular encounter, Ngome?
Well, I go for the Malian side, the Eagles of Mali. Remember, they have showed caliber, they've showed professionalism, and they are good. But when we look at it, Mauritania are already out, so they are just playing for pride, and they might be like the Zimbabwe we saw the other day against Guinea. But I see Mali putting at least, let me say, 2-0.
Keep your predictions coming in, beautiful viewers of My Media Prime Television. We will be back in little less than 50 minutes time when the first halves would definitely be over. Stay with us. One is taking place in Limbe, and of course the other place is back in Douala. So football is still for you. Stay with us.
My Media Prime TV, the African Eye.
Madame, Messieurs, bonjour. Bienvenue sur My Media Prime.
L'administration camerounaise s'est déjà montrée comme une administration budgétivore qui prend les impôts des Camerounais et les utilise n'importe comment sans rendre compte.
Vitrine 237, analyse, débat, décryptage de l'actualité camerounaise sur votre télé.
My Media Prime TV, the African Eye.
You're welcome back from this break, and if you are just joining us, you're watching House of Commons.
House of Commons. A roundup, debate, and analysis of what made news within the week.
Cardinal Toumé has always...
My Media Prime TV, the African Eye.
Madame, Monsieur, bonsoir et bienvenue une fois encore sur My Media Prime de African Eye pour votre programme de tous les vendredis soirs de Prime Guest.
The Prime Guest, c'est 90 minutes d'entretien libre avec un acteur de la société. Le parcours, les expériences, la pensée de l'invité ainsi que le regard sur le fait de l'actualité et le sujet d'intérêt général vous intéresse.
On se rend compte de quoi? On se rend compte que l'exécutif au Cameroun tient tout. Le législatif, le judiciaire. Parce que sinon, comment pouvez-vous expliquer qu'une constitution qui est au-dessus des lois
Ne manquez pas The Prime Guest avec GSK, Jean-Soleil Coueté, vendredi 21h30, rediffusion dimanche 9h sur My Media Prime TV. Disponible dans le bouquet Canal+, numéro 309, The Prime Guest. My Media Prime TV, The African Eye. My Media Prime TV, The African Eye.
You're welcome back from this break, and if you are just joining us, you're watching House of Commons.
House of Commons. A roundup, debate, and analysis of what made news within the week.
Cardinal Tumi has always stood out as a fighter when it comes to social justice in Cameroon. He has also stood out as a critic of the government.
Most of the Anglophone elite class in this country are very dishonest fellows.
Every Sundays, as from 11 a.m. GMT on My Media Prime TV.